guys, welcome to another Racquet review. This time we're looking at the Prestige MP in the Graphene 360 Plus lineup with the newly added spiral fibers. I haven't played tennis in 5 weeks as my state's actually in a lockdown. That's why I haven't been posting any new videos and probably still won't be able to do it for quite some time. But if you're interested in some videos of me ranking my top frames or comparing some, give me a comment below and I'll see what I can do. I'll be hopeful to come back with a new peel drive and the pro stock reviews when I get back on court. As always, if you like this video, help me by giving me a thumbs up and subscribe to see all my future reviews. My Instagram is also in the description if you want to follow me. Looking at the specs, the Prestige MP is a true 98 square inch that's new to the Prestige line for this generation with an unstrung weight of 320 grams, an 1820 string pattern, beam width of 20mm across the board with a swing weight of 323, a balance point of 32cm, which is about 7 points headlight, and a stiffness rating of 61 RA. I've played with a number of Prestiges in the past, but not for a long time and when it wasn't suited to my game, so I know I'll get a lot of questions comparing it to the older generations, and although I've played with a ton of rackets even from the older gens, most of my knowledge is derived from releases in the last 5 years or even some pro stocks, as that's when I started getting into rackets more. So if you want me to compare to the current rackets, I can do that, but probably not so much to the older classics. So being the second lineup release with the Graphene 360 Plus, this confirms what we found in the Gravity line, which was whatever changes they made to the layups with the addition of the spiral fibers was actually really nice. And this again was confirmed when they released the Graphene 360 Plus Speeds and the Extremes. The Graphene models across the board had a hollow feel and could feel quite pingy at the tip of the head depending on which string you used, especially in stock form. This caused some erratic feel for some users where the listed stiffness of their frames did not quite accurately depict the measurements, and some people found that these vibrations could also cause arm issues, but there were also some that didn't have a problem with it. So when we're talking about the comfort of the frame, the feel of the new Prestige MP provides a great balance of flex and feedback. It gives a nice buttery feel without feeling too much flex in any area of the frame, but plenty of ball pocketing that gives a very nice solid contact throughout impact. It's a little more softer than the Gravity line and possibly the Pro Tour 2.0, and I thought it was nicer than the V-Core, but at the end of the day, it really comes down to preference because they're all ranked very high in this category. Being a Prestige, you should be expecting a low-powered racket. Some people have said that it's underpowered, but I generally believe that would boil down to two issues, and that would be if you're stringing too high or you're just not swinging fast enough, and you should probably consider a different frame if that's the case. I think the Graphene 360 Plus lineups for every model seems to be string and tension sensitive, especially with the Prestige and Gravity. My recommendations would be to go no higher than 52 pounds, and even for the Prestige I would probably go between 40 to 45 personal. If you're a high intermediate to advanced player finding it underpowered, that probably should help fix the issue. With spin, quite simply put, your experience of spin potential and launch angle will probably just come down to the string choice and how you swing. I think launch angle and spin play very fair to what you expect from a heavily control orientated racket. It gives you just exactly what you put in and nothing is for free, but if you're capable, there's more than enough. I actually think it performs pretty decent in this area for my style. I can get some good coverage over the net and some good jump on my heavier forehands, but that's because I use 18 gauge strings. I found the same with the Gravity Pro, where I use 16L, the launch angles get quite drastically affected and I find it no different in the Prestige MP. Slices are what you'd expect, especially with this kind of head size from a Prestige. I found it quite easy to get my racket around and cut deep into the ball, resulting in low skidders. It won't perform quite as well as your sub 95 square inch rackets, but for the compensation of more surface area to hit with ground strokes, I think it's a fair trade-off. Control is as good as it can be, combined with its lower powered response. I felt like I could really rely on this frame when I wasn't finding my mark with my usual rackets. I really enjoyed switching to this frame when the balls got flat and when I had to play in some clay. Both scenarios are more typical for me to overhit with my other rackets, but when I used the Prestige MP, I was able to hold my rallies longer and still swing very hard to maintain a higher level of pace without increasing my error rate. I would say it's slightly better than the Gravity Pro, and I would just rank it a bit below the Pro Tour 2.0 and definitely the Phantom 93P. But remember, the racket comes in at a swing weight of 323, which is a bit low compared to the other rackets that range from 330 to 335. So if you add some weight, I believe that the control will improve because of the stability, and it would probably be able to match the other frames. As for serving, I'm not sure about other people's opinions, but serving was probably the best part of the racket for me. The first time I used it, I had an immediate connection with it. I remember serving 4 aces immediately in a doubles match when I first hit with it. It's one of the best serving rackets out there for a 98 square inch frame, and I thought it reacted a little bit more like a 95 square inch. Even with its flex, I felt the harder you swing, the hoop would actually stiffen up a little bit, which would provide you with a very penetrating serve, and that makes you feel more connected to allow you to get pinpoint accuracy. The Gravity Pro, on the other hand, is a little bit more difficult to find the accuracy because you can get lost in the sweet spot a little bit, and sometimes feels too soft throughout the contact point. Slice serves also work really well, and kick serves were not all that bad. Basically, if you're capable of maintaining good racket head speed, you'll find the serve that you want. Forgiveness is dependent again on the string tension. I personally think 42 to 45 pounds is the perfect way to play with this racket. If you start going above 48, you'll find that the sweet spot can be quite small and unforgiving, but when you start diving into the low 40s, the whole racket really opens up nicely and you won't find it so difficult to play with. Also, if you use a bit of a firmer string, you won't be able to bring out that smooth flex, and in some instances, people found that it could be feeling a bit harsh on the arm. When I first used it, I strung at 48, and it wasn't until my strings broke in and the tension dropped that I really started enjoying this racket. So if you do string higher, you'll need to have some patience with it to experience the true potential. Swing weight can be a little low for more traditional prestige users. It's definitely not as stable as the Gravity Pro or the Pro Tour, so you may need to add a tiny bit of extra weight to bump it up to a swing weight of 328 to 330. It can shake and twist a little bit when playing higher level players, so if you already prefer heavier frames, I highly recommend adding the additional weight because you'll likely need it to make it perform in its ideal way. In the volley department, touch and feel on volleys were fantastic. With its headlight balance, it was very easy to get around the net. Contact was smooth and stability was generally more than enough, but I would still recommend upping the weight at 3 and 9 to give you that stability that you need for heavier pace balls. Maneuverability was pretty good overall. I think it comes down to what you like. I didn't find it very difficult to swing, but for some reason I feel a bit faster with my Gravity Pro despite the balance point being a little bit more towards the hoop, but that could be just a mask for the fact that the Gravity is a very forgiving racket. Overall, this is a fantastic update to the Prestige line compared to the last iteration, which was the XT line. I hear that the Prestige Mid is also a very nice frame, but given that I buy all the rackets myself, I don't think it would be worth for me to try unless I demo it. Considering that they retail at almost 300 USD over here, I might as well get a Pro Stock racket. The premium price point I think is a bit silly given that the Prestige line doesn't sell so well these days, but if you can find these frames secondhand for a good price, I think they would be more than worth it if you're a keen Prestige user. But remember, these Graphene 360 Plus rackets are string and tension sensitive, so if you still prefer stringing in the mid 50s, it could potentially ruin the experience for you, so I'd be careful of that. Don't expect this racket to be a 98 square inch version of the Gravity line though. They are different, they play different. At the end of the day, it comes down to your game style. Would I personally use this over my Gravity Pro? Not necessarily, but there are certain situations where I actually will play better with this frame and I do choose to switch to it. If you like Eastern grips, hitting flat and want a precision instrument, this might be something that works very well for you immediately, but I also think that the racket can work more for modernized players if you get the setup right. But anyway, that concludes my review on this frame. I hope you enjoyed the review. If you can support my channel by subscribing and liking this video, please do it as it will help me keep going. These videos do take a long time, but if you do have any questions or would like to know my opinion on something, I'll pretty much respond to every comment. Anyway, thanks again for watching and I'll see you in the next video.